Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the 20-somethings podcast, and we on the road. We ready to go. We live from Goodyear, Arizona.
You dig?
And we have a special guest today.
You dig?
Photographer. Traveler. Tell me the rest. Okay. But yeah, we out here in Goodyear. We're going to be interviewing Idara. We just want to thank you for sharing your space with us.
Thank you so much.
We're really excited to start, so let's get it.
All right.
Yeah. So, Idara,
Yes.
could you give us like a brief background about who you are, where you come from? Where were you born?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was born here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
So yeah, I'm Nigerian, obviously, from Akwa State, but lived my life here in Arizona. Oldest of four. I am a photographer, creative director, educator, and I think the interesting thing is that those are recent titles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to school for I did physiology in undergrad, and then I did business administration and public health in grad school with the idea of my parents think I was going to go to med school.
Yeah.
That didn't happen because I took that MCAT and humbled myself.
We know how it goes.
And then I ended up, but in college, I had started taking grad photos my senior year.
Okay.
And so it was just really dope to I was just looking for a way to make some money, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was working on campus part-time, making $8 an hour, $8.05 to be exact.
That broke college
It
life
was-
for real.
Listen, so
real.
when you live a life of luxury, you realize $8 is not going to cut it.
Right.
So I remember seeing people on campus that were taking pictures, and I was like, okay, cool. My mom had bought me a camera because I took a photo class back in high school. So I had a camera, and I remember just feeling like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So I just started taking grad photos of some of my friends, and then that turned into events, and then just turned into just random portraits, and this kept evolving to where I am now.
Right.
I've been shooting for it's been 6.5 years now.
Congratulations.
and so,
You
thank
get a little
you.
hand clap.
Dedication
Thank
for
you.
real.
Yeah. Listen. It started off. I think the cool thing about it for me was when I went to Nigeria. I think it was in 2018 or 2019. 2018, I think I went to Nigeria, and I was the first time going as a photographer. So I went back and I ended up taking pictures of just street photography, family members and stuff. And I remember how much it meant for my family to have those images, right? So something like my dad's not seen his mom for however many years, and now he has, I think it was her 80th or 89th or 80 something birthday.
Yeah. She's up there.
She's up there.
Okay. We
She's
thank
up there.
God for her
We
life.
thank God. But I was able to take portraits of her while I was there. And I think showing them to my dad and being able to let him see it was a really, really amazing thing to see his reaction. I think for them, that's when he realized photography was actually a gift. So I think that was the first experience where I was like, you know what, I want to do more of just capturing moments, capturing people and their stories, and being able to at least have a physical representation of who somebody is that lives on beyond me.
Right.
So yeah, that's who I am. That's what I do now.
Okay,
Just doing the
okay.
photography thing, moving into educating and trying to also teach people how I do what I do as well.
Yeah.
Which is a new space for me, but it's really nice. So that way, I don't have to physically be somewhere shooting. I can also just teach a class or stay still.
Right.
Sit down.
Right.
Because my knees, my back, I can't be shooting as much as it weighs.
Yeah.
It weighs.
You still
for sure.
20-something though.
You know exactly.
You still in there.
Yeah, that's true.
So as it pertains to balancing school and your passion, I want to dive into that a little more.
Yeah.
Because you went to school not knowing about photography or knowing anything about it. So where along the path did you kind of stumble into that passion? Is it something that you saw someone doing and then you wanted okay, can I try my hand at that? Do you have a particular story?
So it started. So my senior year it was either my junior or senior year of high school. I took a photography class just to fulfill its credit. So I just was I need an art credit. Took the photography class, didn't care about it, and that was really all I was planning on doing.
Yeah.
And then it was And I was trash at that point. Let me point that out. It wasn't giving. It wasn't
At least
giving.
you knew.
I knew. I was aware, which is why I never actually pursued it at that time.
Yeah.
And then it was my senior year of college. Or actually, it was my 21st birthday. So this was going into my senior year, and my mom.
Chibuch.
We're trying not to pay attention to her.
It was my 21st birthday, and I remember asking my mom for a camera because I think that's when I realized people were on campus taking photos of other people and making their money.
Right.
So I went to her. I said, "Mom, like I just need a camera." And like she started seeing prices of it. She's like, "Do you see how much these cameras cost?" I said, "Just give me the basic of the basic."
Yeah.
Like
Right,
I think it was like a $200-$300 camera, really small. Like mini little thing. 200. So for me to come and ask her for $300 is a list.
Right.
But when you look at cameras in general, that one was cheap. Okay?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
what was
Relatively.
the brand of that for your first camera?
It was a Canon Rebel SL1. So it's one of those like in the family of like the Rebels, like the T3i, T4, like all those.
I'm nodding like I know.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
what?
what you're
So
saying.
what do you have now?
What I have now is a Canon EOS R, which is like so
big
the Canon.
boy.
So yeah, so like the Canon. So my setup now cost me probably like. The lens was about 4K and the camera was like 2.
4K
So my
4K.
so like my current setup now is about like 6 to 7K is what it costs for
Damn.
just, the equipment, just for those 2 pieces of equipment.
Shout out to Canon.
What I was-
Sponsor her.
please, because it's not
Brand deals.
cheap. It's not cheap. But then my setup was probably like $200-$300, maybe 3 something.
Okay.
But I begged my mom, and she was just like, "I don't know why you want me to give you this camera.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna distract you from your studies." I said, "Mom, please,
Yeah,
you don't understand. I can make money from this thing.
I'm telling
I can
you,
make
man.
money."
True.
Yeah.
And once she heard that, it was like a switch went off in her head. She's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, more money that you go and make for yourself is less money out of her pocket.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
for
right.
both of my parents." So then she bought me my camera for my birthday, and I remember having it and not using it at all. I think maybe I took pictures of like my sister one time and Sade, and another time my friend Sade.
Shout out, Sade.
Shout out to Sade.
Shout
If she listens, she better listen. We shout you out on this one. You
Shout
don't listen.
her.
That's gonna be crazy.
But it was January of 2016. I had my friend Courtney. She was like, "Oh, Idara, like I know you have a camera. Can you take my grad photos?" And I know I bought the camera, or I had my mom buy the camera because I wanted to take grad photos.
Right.
But I wasn't actually planning to take
Right.
grad photos.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
Step up.
You know, exactly. I was like, I have the equipment, but I'm not ready for the platform. Like, I'm not ready to actually do it. And I remember she asked me, she was like, "All I need you to do is just take my grad photos, something low key, and I'll buy you lunch." I said, "Bet, like that's free food." Like,
Listen.
cool.
Right.
College, we
I
understand.
understand.
Should be like that.
Now,
Even
mind
now,
you-
free food.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And so, and then when I look back, like she got a really good deal. Like, 'cause I took so many photos. At that time, I didn't even have like all the editing software that I have now. I was editing like. I would literally make my selections, airdrop it to my phone, do my editing on my phone on like
Yeah.
on my iPhone,
Wow.
and then airdrop it back,
yeah.
and then like save it in a folder that I would then upload into Google Drive and send off.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it was a stressful process,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I made $20. Like
Humble
True.
beginnings.
humble beginnings.
Yeah.
But once I did that, she was the one that was like, "Oh, like these are really great. Like you should
Right.
start taking more people."
Yeah.
So she was the one that actually pushed me to start doing it. So
Wow.
I'm really grateful to her because even though it was like a $20 deal, like a quick exchange, I didn't get much out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
let me
the
not even say
experience.
that. I got a lot out of it because of where my whole career started from that moment. If it wasn't for her telling
You gotta
me to
cut
go do
her a
it.
check.
I know where's she at
Yeah.
now?
Shout out Courtney.
We're gonna cut you a check.
I don't know about that.
Shout out Courtney, I love you, girl. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where it really started, was just kind of taking photos, graph photos for my friends, and then being able, I think what kind of stayed consistent throughout my career is like, I just really like connecting with people. And photography
Yeah.
for me is a way for me to connect.
Right.
Right.
And I think it's a way for me to be able to feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have this responsibility to like capture people the way that I see them.
Right.
And so it's a really like personal experience for me when I'm shooting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's what was consistent, was I just was really loving, even though I didn't know what I was doing with my camera, I just loved being able to meet
Yeah.
different people
Right.
and take their pictures.
Right. Right.
And then they'd be like, "Oh, I love this. Oh, I look so good." I'm like, "Oh, girl, yeah, I know."
Yeah.
That's good. You see that angle I gave you? Like,
Oh, wow.
You know, so seeing people get excited and seeing them see
Yeah.
themselves in the different light was what kind of kind of fueled me moving to continue to move forward. So that's how it all started. And then, you know, I just kind of tried different things out. I remember we had like an ASA fashion show, and Natalie wanted me to take, she wanted to plan a shoot for it.
Right.
And that was my first like creative shoot.
Okay.
And I remember we went through this whole shoot. Again, I shot so many photos. I stressed myself out, like physically, mentally, everything for it.
Yeah.
But the photos were great, and it was great. She used it for like advertising for the show.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I was like, okay, I really like doing this. So once I kind of kept going, it just kind of continued to grow. So
Right.
Wow.
I have a question. Like on your Instagram, you have like a signature like style, like with your editing and stuff. Like, how did you find that? Like, did you have like inspiration? Because like, it's hard.
I think I had inspiration. I think that for me, it's important for creatives to have like or really anybody to have somebody that you kind of look up to.
Yes.
And I didn't really have anybody like other people in my space, but Instagram is great because I could tap into everybody.
Everything and everywhere.
And even if I don't talk to you, I could see your work.
Exactly.
I can see your, you know, interviews, stuff like that. So one of my favorite photographers, her name is Dion Ivory. And so I remember seeing her work and being like, oh, I like these, like, I like how she, shoots Black women. I like her tones. And so then I just try to play around and say, okay, what can I do? Like, what do I like? So I think it's important to kind of see who you're inspired by and kind of take little bits and pieces of what you like and kind of see what ways you can make it your own. So I think it was just kind of trial and error, like seeing what I liked and then like playing around to see, not trying to copy, but like, okay, I know I like this. Like, how can I get this in my own kind of flavor, you know, my own way?
Right.
And then I think that's how my style just kind of evolved, because if you look at my editing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, from when I first started, it just kind of grew and grew. And I think you just kind of find your voice as an artist, and then it just starts to translate into your work. So
Yeah. That's cool.
So when you like realized you could start making money off of it, how did you take it beyond just friends and family? Like, how did you advertise and like put yourself out there?
See, you know, that's where God comes in.
Yes.
Come on, the Holy Spirit.
That's where he comes in, because I wasn't doing, I think even to this day, I don't do a good job with advertising myself.
Right.
I feel like the people that I work with advertise for me.
Right.
That's good.
So I think that for me, going into any shoot, it doesn't matter if it's something smaller on a larger scale, going in with it with the same kind of energy, the same kind of attitude,
Right.
I feel like that translates. So then that person feels like they got an experience from me and they can now recommend me to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think when I was like seeing, okay, even from like college friends, and then a college friend calls me and says, hey, my cousin's getting married. Like, she would love a photographer for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, bet. Like, oh, what are your prices? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out.
Right. Right. Word
So,
of mouth
you know,
is like the best
word of
form of
mouth,
advertising.
It is incredible. And then I just started to do research and trying to figure out, okay, what can I price? And at the time, again, it was really low, but it was what I felt comfortable for.
Right.
Especially like, I mean, I'm in my early 20s. Like, I just graduated. I'm making maybe $20 an hour at a job.
Right.
If you want to pay me like $150 for a shoot, bet I'll take it.
Right.
Like, an hour
Right,
shoot,
right.
no problem. Like,
Right.
probably 4 or 5 hours of my time. Cool. Like, I'll make that money.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where, I think that's where I really kind of, with experience, I just kind of like, when I realized more people were coming to me, I was okay. This is a true thing. Like, I have a talent here that people actually want,
Right.
and that's when I started to take it more seriously.
Right.
I think now I don't really go out and like, I don't know, like I have my website, but if you find me on Instagram, you find me on Instagram. I don't really like do a lot of
The
advertising.
work speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where
true.
the people that God has put in my life and the people that I've worked with have really helped me, because they've recommended me for different jobs or different things like that have really helped to put money into my pockets. So
Right.
we
Right.
Thank
Amen
God
to that.
for real. Yeah. So I have a question. As a Black
Yes.
woman in this space, you know, usually photographers, it's male dominated in this space. How do you overcome the feeling of like imposter syndrome?
Ooh, Fee girl, that
I
one.
know.
That one.
I know that question came
He
out
hit
the
that
gut.
one.
Out the gut. Sorry.
No, that question right there is a massive one, because I feel like I recognize that photography was a male dominant industry from when I first started. Like when I was seeing people shoot on campus, they were all men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and they were all, and even at that, there weren't really any men that I were seeing that were Black or even of color. It was all white people.
Yeah.
So then I think what helped me at that time was like, I don't know, I felt like I brought something unique, right? As a Black woman, I bring a fresh perspective.
Most
and so I think that first of all, what I think, especially on campus, I think being one of the only black photographers, that already kind of put me in my own lane to where other people that looked like me, whether they're black or brown, they felt like, oh, this girl will know how to take my pictures. Because I think an issue that a lot of us have with certain photographers is that you go to someone who might have like more experience with lighter skin tones, whiter skin tones, etc., and they edit in a certain style. And then when you,
it's not flattering.
It's not.
They wash it out.
I've seen it. I know.
You can look ashy. You can look orange. You can look. You can be looking like a Oompa Loompa. Like you can be looking any. You can be looking any kind of way. Like, and so I think that helped me because a lot of people realize that like. I can, because I'm a black woman, I can do that for them, you know? Yeah. And so being able, I think that's what started in the beginning. And then as I've continued to grow, I think it's just, again, I don't know, I feel like I have to remind myself that, like, nobody has the voice that I have, regardless if you're another black woman photographer or another black man, white man, whoever, especially in a male-dominant industry. There's only one of me.
Yeah.
Amen.
You know, and so I have to. When I do have those seasons of imposter syndrome, I have to remind myself of that. Like I literally will go to my portfolio and be
remind
like,
yourself of your work.
I said,
Yeah,
I did that.
I did that.
I did that.
Yeah.
All right, bet. All
Exactly.
right, bet. You know, so you have to. I think. And then, like, just trying to just focus on your own world and what you have going on, and not trying to compare yourself. Because I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
When you see other people, and then you see like their journeys and their work, and you're like, well, my work is just as good. Or then you kind of get envious, and it doesn't really help your situation.
Yep. In this next section, Idara is going to talk a little bit about her Selfie Portrait Sunday project. We messed up this part. That's why I'm doing a little voiceover over top of this footage. So yeah, enjoy. Ooh, that was good.
I don't like
So it was actually 2 years ago. So Easter Sunday 2020. I remember feeling like, okay, so this is a new like situation that we all going through, right?
Yeah.
And but one thing that's really big for me for every Easter is I would always get dressed. Like I would put on my Sunday's best and go to church.
As you should.
As I should, right? As I need to.
Yeah.
And so I remembered like church was gonna be remote. It was at home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So so I remember feeling like, okay, I still want to get dressed. So I just like I got dressed, literally watched church in my bed, and I took a picture because I was like, I didn't even leave the house. I need some kind of
stimulation.
Yeah. I need something. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I took a photo and I ended up posting it on my Instagram. It was just like a self-portrait I took. And then a week after that, I don't know what made me do it. There was just the spirit,
The Holy Ghost.
but I think I really liked getting up, getting dressed, and like taking a picture. Like that process. There's something about like there's something about
woman.
I was gonna say as a woman
Yeah.
doing your makeup, doing your hair.
Why are you
and
shaking your
You
head?
don't know nothing about that.
They don't
Yeah,
know
y'all
that.
just roll out.
There's something
Roll up the
about
press.
there's something about beating your face and like getting your hair laid and like taking a picture that just feels good.
Yep.
And so I remember feeling like, especially at that time of the pandemic, like I was fully remote. I wasn't leaving the house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you wake up, you go to sleep. Did you even shower today? Like you
Right.
just moving.
Trenches.
You're just moving anyhow. And so I remember feeling really good. So the next Sunday I was like, I'm gonna take a self-portrait. And that's when I was like, I think that when I posted it, that's when I actually used the hashtag Self-Portrait Sunday. And I think I said like, oh, I'm taking pictures so my future kids know how fly their mom was, even in the middle of a pandemic.
Caption.
Come on.
God.
Come on.
Yo.
And I remember I posted it, and I put my phone away, and I came back to it like maybe an hour, 2 hours later, and I saw these notifications. I said,
Line up.
I was so confused because I was seeing like my pictures of me, like usually pictures of me kind of do better than like my art. I don't know if it's people see my face, but you know, you might see like 300 likes, 400 likes. Me, I'm seeing 1,000 likes. I said, hey,
Man, we don't know that.
I don't know nothing about that. Like,
Viral.
I said, and I'm like,
Viral
clicking.
movie, for
I'm
sure.
clicking. I said, I don't know a lot of these
these
people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that shocked me. But again, I liked the feeling of just taking a picture. So the next Sunday came and I took another self-portrait. And it's interesting because before that point, I would take any pictures I had were pictures that other people took of me. But I still never really felt comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But what I think helped me feel comfortable is that as you watch like my project, you'll see like the first self-portrait, it was just very basic, like just a portrait of me. And then as I continued, it gets like I'm doing different creative ideas. And I feel like that's what was stimulating me, was that because I couldn't go out and shoot with other people, I have to... Exactly. I have to bring it at home.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I would try different concepts and ideas that I had and just keep shooting myself every single week. And then it just got to a point where I was like a month into this, 2 months into this, 3 months. Like I was deep.
Yeah.
Into
We was waiting
it.
for the drop. Like, you gotta go post it.
If I didn't post, when I tell you text messages,
Like,
DMs,
where you at?
We're waiting.
Where you at?
I said everybody's waiting for this picture. And I'm like, I didn't understand like and I still don't understand what it did for other people. But for me, it just felt like that was my time in the day where I was in my own world and just doing, like, not worrying about everything and all the shit that's going on in the world right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I remember just like, because I would do everything the same day. So I would set up, do my hair and makeup, shoot the picture, edit the photo, and post it by the evening. So that's why I would always post.
You have straight.
It was a whole production. That's why I usually always post around like that, maybe earliest like 3 o'clock to like 6, 7 o'clock in that time period. Because it's a whole, depending on how many, it's a whole shabam. But it just kind of felt like therapy in a sense. Like I just felt like I was my me time. My doors locked. Everybody knew, my whole house, because I was living at home at that point. My parents knew. My siblings knew.
It's time.
It's time. Don't bother Idara.
Not disturb.
And then before it went to Instagram, it went to my family group chat. And then once my mother, my father, my mom and dad would be,
Good,
Idara,
great.
you look so good. Oh, my daughter, you're so. My dad, my daughter, you're so beautiful. Approval. Then I go to Instagram and I would
because
post.
African parents will let you know.
They will.
Hey.
Yeah.
My mom will let
Were
me
there
know.
any
She's
that
like,
they
why does
ever-
your head look like that?
Yeah. Were there any that they ever like
We're looking at it.
look at it like,
There was
not
one.
this
There
one?
was one, and there was one portrait that I took that was called. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember my hair. It's like a side profile. My hair was like braided in cornrows, and it was meant to be one to talk like a stripped down raw photo of like just my features.
Yeah.
And in the caption, I talk about my insecurities of like skin color, complexion, like the size of my ears, all these different things that I struggled with growing up.
Yeah.
So it's like a powerful photo to me.
Right.
I showed it to my mom.
Oh no.
She looked at me like,
Humbly.
she said, "Are you gonna post this?" I said, "Yes, it's already posted." And so that was the one photo that comes to mind. But I think in general, I think every photo that I shared with them, my parents are just like, "Oh wow, wow, wow!" And then when they started to see people enjoying it, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing next? What are you doing next?" So I just think that I don't know. I felt like because it was like me time, I kind of felt more comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that the one thing taking pictures of yourselves will do, it forces you to look at your insecurities.
Right.
It forces you to really look at yourself and say, I look like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No
And so-
filter,
No flitter.
Girl,
No flitter.
wow, exactly, raw.
Filler.
No
And
flitter.
I think that process was really like, I don't know, it just did something for me.
I'm so
I heard
really try not to look at you.
my stomach ground. Shout out to Pete Stomach.
No, but I just remember feeling, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't like you, David.
He was like,
Okay.
I just remember feeling like, I don't know, like I was truly having to like look at myself.
Yeah.
And like not looking at myself, like different versions of myself that other people create, like this version of myself. Like I think that's the powerful part about the project is I controlled everything.
Yeah.
I controlled the way I
Yeah.
looked like, my images, everything. Like you weren't telling me who I was, I was telling you.
Right.
And so I think that was exactly, I was taking that power back.
Yeah.
And so once I kind of got over the fact of like, oh, the size of my ears, my nose, I said, I look good.
Right.
Period.
Exactly.
Like once I did my editing and everything, even in the beginning, I did the whole like, I treated it like I was shooting somebody else. Like, what
Right.
kind of energy do I take into every shoot? That's
Right.
the energy I'm
Yeah.
taking into the self-portrait session.
Right.
And so the same way people leave my shoots feeling like, oh, shoot, I feel good. I left every week feeling good.
Right.
That's why I kept doing it. It's because while the rest of the world is on fire, I feel
I
good
look
every
good.
You on fire.
I'm on fire.
Oh, we're gonna have to add some.
At least once a week, I know I'm solid,
Right.
Yeah.
you know? So I
Yeah.
think that's where the confidence really came. And I look back and I'm like, who I am now because I don't even do the self-portrait project right now because it got overwhelming. And I told myself once it was supposed to be something that was fun for me. So I told myself once it became that I was doing it for other people, I would stop. So that's why I stopped because I felt like I fell into like posting and waiting for the likes, posting, waiting for the comments, waiting for the validation. I said, I'm not doing it for you guys. So that's why I stopped. I said, and I might like sporadically like drop a self-portrait here and there, but I didn't want to get in the space where like, that's where burnout comes in and like, you're not creating your chore. Exactly. It's a chore and it wasn't like fulfilling me like it was before. So that's where, I don't know, the what that project did to me is, for me, what it did for me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I can't even really explain. Like, it just felt like it was the first time I could see myself and I felt comfortable in my own skin. And I think that like me intentionally spending that time with myself every single week, I knew I liked Idara, but now I'm like, okay, I love her. She's cool. You know, she's cool. So
you touched on a point. I actually wanted to ask you a question about anytime someone like usually dives into like a passion and then they make it their like career, you have to tiptoe the line of like starting to hate it and still maintaining that love for it, right? So, you know, you're like big level now. You're, you know, you're doing Adobe, you're doing Apple. We see it.
Big boys.
So how do you like tiptoe that line? Like, how do you keep it like a strong passion without like growing to like despise it or being like, oh, I gotta do this again?
Yeah. I think that what's helping me now, it's not my full time. It's not what I do full time.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I'm going back and forth with that idea of doing it full time, and that's my fear. If I do it full time, it's gonna feel like a chore. So I don't know what that feels like. I think what is helping me now is that there's a balance in my life of like work that I do outside of that space, and then because I work like a 9 to 5, right? And thankfully, by God's grace, within the last year, I got a job that I actually really liked, but it's a completely different field, healthcare, et cetera. But I actually like going to work every day and like doing it. And so I think that kind of puts me in one world. And then when I get to log off and do something else, I feel like I'm like refreshed, like I'm not creatively drained. So I think that helps as far as it's difficult because you're now, before it was like I was managing like a real job and a hobby, and now it feels like I'm managing 2 jobs. So I struggle more so with like not burning out, honestly. And I think part of that is like spacing out projects and giving myself time to like go on trips, enjoy and rejuvenate, and then come back.
We seen you on them trips, girl.
It's a reason
Puerto
for
Rico.
it.
You was good.
Come on. I still got pictures to drop for y'all.
Okay, ready.
But I think that that's what's helped me not kind of feel like photography is a chore. And I think I'm in a new space right now where like so many new opportunities are coming that I'm just excited. And so like even like the ability to work with Adobe. So like every month I do like an Adobe Live with them. Well, they have Adobe Lives that happen every week, but I host or I'll either come up as a guest. And I love that space because I get to interview different creatives and talk to them about their creative process and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's dope. Like I didn't even realize, like I know it's Adobe, but when I'm doing it, it just feels like I'm having fun. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this for a larger company. Or when I tell you that time when I went into the Apple store and I saw myself portraits in the Apple store.
Tell us, you know, we need to talk about that. You need to give us a breakdown, like. Give us the breakdown right now, man. That's very like
that one was. I think that was the moment. I don't even think I've ever posted it on my Instagram. I think I just posted it on my story and like whatnot, and just told like people when I see them. When I went into that store, I remember. So the way that it happened, I did a project with Apple. I think this was still in 2020. And they were trying to find ways to highlight with the release of their iMac, one of their versions of their iMacs, they wanted to show how like creators are staying creative at home. So one guy who works on their product team found me on Instagram, reached out to me, and when I got the email that said "Hello from Apple," I thought it was spam.
I don't blame you.
Because before that point, nobody big has ever. I said, "Apple what?" And then like I had my first meeting with him. I said, "You really work for Apple?" Like I needed him to prove it, because I was like, "This can't be like." And like it just kept. So we went through this whole like it was a couple of weeks leading up to, and it was I had to show. They wanted me to show like how I use their products. So how I edit with the, my iMac and why I love it, yada, yada, yada. And so a part of that was that, and with that whole situation, they thought it'd be great to show my work in the stores. Of course, after we talked through all the details, I said, yes, I want to do this. That's beautiful. To even just see my face in that store did something for me. Right. But we're in a pandemic. Stores are closed. Right. So I was like, okay, I put it out of my head. I already got my benefit out of it, financially. So I was like, okay, I'm cool. Yeah. And then it was sometime last year with one of the releases of their iOS something. So it was I had licensed the images. So with their iOS something, I saw my face on on the phone when you go on tips. Yeah. And you see all these tips when new updates come, they tell you, I saw my face. I said, wow. I said, wait. So I emailed my guy. I said, I texted him. I said, hey, do you see this? Is this real? He's like, yeah. Have you gone into the store yet? No. I'm not gone into the store. Okay. So I think that same day or next day, I was literally in sweats. I had my mask on. I went into the Apple store at Arrowhead Mall. I walked in, went to the computer. He said it's on every Mac. I said, okay, no problem.
Every Mac.
Every Mac. Wow. And not just here in this Arizona. He said any Apple store that you go to, period, you'll see it. I said, my mouth to this day still is dropping. So I went into that store. I went to the photos. So when you go into the Photos app, you'll see that there's different galleries. There was 5-6 galleries. Yeah. It was random things like birds. Yeah. Cars, random things. And then you just see my name. Wow. A whole gallery of not even my pictures were in a separate folder. It was my name was sitting there. Idara, just sitting there. You click on it, you see 10 of my self-portraits. Wow. I literally sat there. I just was staring. I was staring. Hey,
like a Nigerian movie.
I was just staring. And then one of the workers came up to me. Do you need it? And you're like, do you need anything? You know who I am. She said, do you need anything? I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. And then she was going to walk away. And then she looked at the screen. She's like, wait, is that you? Yeah. And I said, yeah. She's like, oh my goodness. Well, let me go get my manager. She went and got her manager. And then they had me explain. It's yeah, those are my self-portraits. I take these pictures every Sunday, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And then there was another black girl, and she was like, oh, we have to get these on the screen. Yeah. Wow. And so I have a video and pictures of it. She you know how you go to Apple, the big screen. Yeah. Right? Up there. She was like, I need you to just look at that. Oh, wow. Right. And when I tell you, I cried. I cried. I cried. Yeah. I just was looking and all these random people are in the store and the girl, the employee is like, oh, that's her. You guys, that's her. That's her. Aww. So I did not know who this woman was. Wow. But she was black women. Come on. Love a black woman from infinity to infinity. You didn't sing it.
Infinity. I love them.
So that feeling was indescribable. Wow. Yeah. Because I think going back to the question of imposter syndrome, I think I still struggle with times where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this or why I'm doing it, or if it's even, and there's a reason why I'm doing it for myself, but sometimes I'm like, especially if I see this full time, can I even do that? Do people even enjoy the art? Yeah. And when I went to that store and saw those photos, I said, Idara, that's literally you. Yeah. And I think what made it so much more powerful was it wasn't just it was photos that I took. These are pictures of photos I took, but these are pictures of me. Right. My face and every. Gosh. Yeah. And so then all my friends, different people are going into their Apple stores and sending me pictures. Yes. Wow. Sending me pictures. Oh, Idara, look at I went to the Apple store today. Yeah. So that feeling hey, let me not cry because it just I think I had realized, I don't know, it just felt like you're doing what you're supposed to do. Keep doing it. Yes. So I do want to get to a space of doing it full time. But I think right now it's nice having the full-time job in the sense of being able to escape and I don't get tired of the world. Yeah. But at the same time, it's difficult to balance, because this load is becoming heavier and heavier. It's not as small as it was, 3-4 years ago. It's getting heavier now. So, and I have a goal by 30, please. I don't have, this energy will not last forever. By 30, I want to just be doing one thing. The energy will last forever. Okay, amen.
Amen.
I don't want to have to balance a full-time job and like two full-time jobs essentially.
Yeah.
So I do want to make that transition to full-time. I think that's a story of like trusting myself and being okay with the unknown. Essentially,
taking that leap.
Yeah, because right now it's nice to get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
It's nice to know I got health
stability.
insurance.
So, especially in this America,
Come
health
on,
insurance.
I got health insurance, vision, dental, everything.
Amen to that.
So,
Do you have something?
Yeah, I want to ask, what is like your full-time job?
So I work at Mayo Clinic, and I work as a program coordinator, program manager.
And so another PM in the building. Don't even make it.
Another PM in the building.
Go ahead.
So I went from, I think this is where a year ago I was working like in diversity and inclusion as just a program coordinator, and I just was like not really fulfilled with my job, and I wanted to get into operations. So that's what I really enjoy. That's what I went to school for. And so I remember I applied to Mayo, and I just applied on a whim. Like I remember a year, I think this was like summer 2020. I was applying to jobs, rejection. I said, okay, no problem. I'll just sit here. And then January of last year came. I saw the job at Mayo Clinic. I said, let me just apply. Even though I didn't think, I said, I've applied to Mayo before. Got rejection. I said, let me just apply to this job. And so I applied, and it was maybe 2 months before I got my interview. And I got my interview, I did it. And when I tell you, radio silence. I didn't hear anything for maybe close to a month. And I actually got an offer where my job, my boss at my old job, she offered me a promotion on like another team.
Okay.
And like when I tell you the thing was like $1 increase, it was nothing. It was
jobs
doing
that, man.
It was nothing. And she tried for me. I think just the organization itself. But so I remember I took it because I was like, well, Mayo's not calling me. I'm tired of interviewing. I can't deal with another rejection. Let me just take this job and get the experience. Because I felt like, at this point, let me just get the experience. When I tell you, I was a week and a half into this job, I was dreading it. I was like, this shit is too much. When I tell you, stress levels on 10. Like, it was stressful. It was 2 weeks into the job, I got the call from Mayo, from the hiring manager, apologizing that there were some transitions and whatever else, asking if I was still interested in the job. I said yes. And then the HR person called me, gave me the offer. I didn't even know how to counter. Like I just felt like yes. Like it was hard. I just said yes because it was so much more than what I was making at the time. And I just was like, it was life changing money in that sense. And I just remember feeling like I didn't think I was deserving of it. If I'm being honest, I didn't think this was gonna happen. And so I remember I felt bad because like the next day I gave my notice to my boss. I said, I know I just accepted your job, but this is where I'm going.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. So that's what I do full time, and I think, and it's in research, and so it's really nice to be able to have something that I actually enjoy that's not draining me. So my job, like, yes, it can get stressful at times. Any job will, but it doesn't drain me.
Yes.
And so that's why I feel like I'm able to balance the two worlds. Definitely. Now, if you ask me, do I see like future? No. Yeah. Really, honestly. And hopefully my boss is not listening to this. But
stop. Get off.
Listen. She's doing her job well. Leave her be.
Exactly. But I just think in the sense of when I remember when I started this job, I was doing a lot of meet and greets. Yeah. And you start to see people, and everyone's like, I've been here for 10 years. I've been here for 20 years. I've been here for, I said, in the same place. And like they all seem happy, I guess. That's but I'm like, there's no way. I said, I'm supposed to be here, and you just keep, working, going up the career ladder. And I said, like, even if it's not here, I don't want to be doing this for the next 20 years. Exactly. Like, I want to be able to control that. So that's why I'm really hoping that by the age of 30, that's my goal. To, right now it's just to stack up as much as I can. Yeah. And then go into 30s, like being able to have that freedom. So that's where I'm at now.
Awesome.
Outside of work, photography and all that, how do you unwind? Like, what's your favorite like self-care thing to do?
I love to go to the movies. Ooh. So
do you go by yourself or do you go?
I go with my boyfriend. Oh, so the two of us go, and we like one of our very first date was at the movies, and so we keep going to them. Like that's a consistent thing.
Does he buy you popcorn?
Yeah, I don't like popcorn.
Candy.
Yeah, Skittles.
Okay.
Skittles.
That's impressive.
What's wrong with you?
That's important.
Skittles is my favorite candy, so we always get Skittles whenever we go to the movies. But that's one thing that always helps me unwind. I just love watching movies, and I think because of the sense of like inspiration I get from my work from film in general, so I just love to go to the movie theaters. Yeah, more art.
Photography and film do go hand in hand.
Exactly. So I really love that. Yes. Yeah. And especially like sometimes with like the editing and how people edit, like the coloring. Yes. It's just like, oh, I really like those tones. Like, how should I? Exactly. So sometimes that'll be the case. Sometimes I just want to go laugh and like chill and like, you know.
True. Yeah.
Like the last movie we just watched last week was Ambulance.
Ooh, I do want to see that.
That was good.
Okay.
I enjoyed that.
No, I haven't. Is it with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna see that one.
That was really good. So we just watched that. So I do that, and then the recent thing that I do now, I think, especially having, I have my college friends, which are my sisters now, and I think being able, there you go, being able to do things with them is the biggest sense of unwinding that I get. Being able to like, we go out and we like, we do brunches, we go out to dinner, or like even like people hosting each other, like apartments and stuff. That is a huge sense of relaxation that I get. So I think that prior to the pandemic, I really struggled with, I was always, especially when I was in grad school and stuff, I was always so busy. I was the busy friend. And I always hated it when people would tell me, like, you always busy, girl. Like,
I'm that person. You always busy, girl. Come on.
I hated it. Because I just felt like people, I felt like you were telling me, like, you couldn't, like, you couldn't, I was, like, I don't know, like, I was
purposely like ignoring.
Yeah, and I'm outside of your reach.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like you can't even like. They're like, oh, she busy. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm not even gonna call her because she busy.
I'm sorry. I'm definitely that
That's
person.
when they start leaving you out.
Yes, exactly. So I struggled with.
You trying to say
We got
something?
something going on.
20-something.
We gonna keep it pushing. We gonna keep it pushing.
20-something.
But I
Just
would
joking.
struggle. I would struggle with like, because I was so busy, I didn't have anything that kind of would unwind, and so I would get overwhelmed, sit in my room, cry, and then keep pushing
Get back
forward.
to work.
Get back to work.
Sorry about that.
But and so I felt like a lot of my friendships, like I had people, I had friends, like I've always had good friends, but I didn't have intentional relationships. And so that's so now, like I think with the pandemic, because I was forced to slow down, then like you're talking to people more, you're doing more FaceTimes, you're calling, the person you haven't, you calling the person you haven't spoken to in however long.
Right.
And so now it's like because of the pandemic slowing me down, a huge priority in my life is my relationship with my friends, my family too, but with my friends. Like we take trips together, we do things, like even we're gonna go to dinner tonight. Like we just decided 2 days ago, who wants to go to dinner? We all do. Let's go. So that provides a lot of my relaxation and unwinding and keeps me kind of sane when going into the new week. So
it's important to have a good friend group.
Yes.
This is like my good friend group.
There you go.
I mean, I hope they feel the same way. We miss you, Mel. Shout out to Mel.
Shout out to Melody.
Shout out to Mel. Speaking of the movies, right?
Yes.
I want to get back to the work topic.
Back to business.
All business, no play.
Your mouth.
No play.
Nothing else.
No, but I want to know, because you mentioned like color and things like that. In your work, I noticed like that's like a big piece of it, color at least.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, like, are you trying to express any particular kinds of themes through your work in the color
Or emotions.
and then also like on top of that, how do you go about like setting up a shoot, like from ideation to actual execution?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Come on with a question.
Execution. Big word.
So with the pandemic, I had a lot of time to kind of study more.
Okay.
And understanding color was a huge thing. So like learning about color theory and how color, like relationships and colors and what colors work well together, but also like meanings of color.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of times where like I'll intentionally add a color because there's a certain meaning behind it that fits in with the overall theme of the image. So that is something I do intentionally do. I love color in general just because I feel like, I don't know, when something's vibrant and lively, I feel like I connect to it more.
Yeah.
And I really like it when it feels like really, I don't know, I like if it almost feels like when I'm looking at a picture on my screen, like it's like the image is just kind of like oozing off of the screen. Like it's that like colorful, like just like juicy. I don't even know. Juicy. Juicy is the word.
That's a good word.
And so I think that's the way that I love to use color, and definitely being intentional in that sense. And then your second question was,
So like your setup for like shoots and your
Yes.
ideas, like how do you
Yes.
like go from ideation to like, actual execution?
so sometimes when I want to be organized, I'll like, when I have an idea, I'll write it down, and then I'll like, maybe source for some inspiration, whether that's on Pinterest, Instagram, films, or something like that. Sometimes I'll just like see something online, or I'll see a movie and I really like the colors in the movies and I want to do something with those colors or certain themes. Sometimes that's the case, and I just kind of sit down and I'm like, okay, I know I always have to write things down. So whether that's on like a mood board digitally or writing it on like a piece of paper, but I'll plan out like, okay, these are the colors I want. This is the kind of idea theme. And I know I want my subjects to be, they're always going to be black, but I know I want my subjects to be
Period.
black men or black women or together.
Anything
Right.
black.
Really, that's it. So I kind of plan out the basics as far as like, like, oh, I want them to wear this color. I want them to wear this type of outfit, etc. Then I'll reach out to people. And then when it comes to the actual day of the shoot, I really let the vibes do whatever the vibes want to do. So I don't
Right.
come in. I try to have like inspiration for like poses and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because, sometimes with shoots, things start off awkward in the beginning.
Yes.
So you have
Yeah.
to, give us a
Yeah.
little direction,
Yeah.
and then just letting like, once there's
Flow.
music playing, letting things flow. So I usually try to plan out my shoots from just like writing things down and creating some kind of mood board of some kind of effect.
Yeah.
But a lot of my inspiration is pulled from movies that I watch. Whether that's movies, sometimes it's just like real life situations, or sometimes if I see like, I did a shoot with two of my friends, and I just knew I wanted them to wear yellow, and we were driving, we were going to go to a certain park.
Yeah.
I had this idea of like these stairs, and I wanted them to sit on the stairs and wear the yellow, etc. And we passed by this building downtown Phoenix that was yellow and had like these palm trees and stuff. I said, no, we're gonna go shoot here.
Right.
And
yeah.
so I always try to like
Flexible.
be flexible, because you're how I feel like I don't like planning things out to a T, because
True.
then it becomes stressful.
Yep.
You want to let things.
You got to be open.
Exactly. You got to be open.
True.
So
Yeah.
obviously, have the outfit, have maybe color, like
Yeah.
like some kind of
Loose
idea.
structure, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Loose structure, and then when I get to the shoot, everything comes together.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
see.
how I go.
Can
about
I just
all
say, like, I love that you shoot black people in color.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
growing up, like,
Yes.
wearing
Yes.
orange, wearing yellow.
Girl, you're not supposed to
Yes.
be wearing that.
Like,
Yes.
so
Too
shout
black
out
for
to
that.
you
It's
for
a
doing
huge
that.
thing, because I think there's this.
Hey, sorry. I said color. The light
It's a sign. Okay.
It's a huge thing, because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there used to be this idea that black people, like you said, we couldn't wear color.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really important for me to be like, to put us in really vibrant spaces. And I think that's why color is important to me as well. And why my images are really, really vibrant is because that's how I see us. Like, we're very vibrant people.
Yeah.
Like in our culture, very vibrant in our culture, our food, or our overall being, and
colorful.
we're colorful. Yeah. And so we're not bland and just like boring. And I don't want my images to reflect that. I want my images to feel very vibrant and powerful, and like almost like catch you off guard. Like, ooh, I got to look at that,
Yeah.
And so,
especially in a world full of minimalism, everything
exactly,
is minimalism.
Neutrals,
neutrals.
Yeah.
There's enough people that are gonna shoot the neutrals, and that's
Exactly.
you all can do that. But for me, I'm gonna throw y'all in some color.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's
That's what we
definitely
need.
what I love. Yeah.
There was a particular piece that's my favorite.
Come on.
It's called The Dream.
Yes.
And I think it executes this idea of color very well. I wanted to know, like, could you like walk us through the concept of that? Where did the idea come from? And just get an idea of what your process looks like for like a particular like project.
Okay, so Dreams, and that was the one I shot I think I shot that in the Dunes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's till this day one of my favorite. It actually is like one of the projects I want to print out and have displayed some way in this house in a very tasteful way.
Yeah.
But I remember I had a friend, one of my friends, Umberto, shout out to Umberto. He wanted to go do a shoot at the Dunes. Like, we both kind of mutually decided that's what we wanted to do.
Yep.
And so we had, he found 2 models. And so he found the 2 girls.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, that took stress off of me. And we just knew we were going to go on this date to the Dunes. I literally went to the mall, and I was like, I just know I want them to wear the same outfit, because I don't have the mental strength to figure out 2 outfits for these girls.
Right.
I don't want to try to figure out the coordination between 2 different looks.
Yeah.
So let's just get the same thing. You guys will be identical in that field. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went to Zara, picked out the outfits, went to Dillard's, picked up the hats, returned everything, because it's not my pockets that
I
will be
know
coming
that's
from.
Respectfully.
Respectfully. But what did I ended up doing? So when I had the hats, the clothes, and I just knew I wanted them to be like kind of consistent. So I knew there was going to be some kind of theme of like togetherness, sisterhood, something, something, Black women and just kind of, and I also knew going into it, I didn't really want it because of the location. The location was very, very beautiful. I wanted the scenery to play a huge part of it. So I didn't want to focus on just portraits. Because I that would take away from the, I drove 2 hours to this place.
For a reason.
We gonna get this picture.
I want to see the sand. I want to see miles of sand in my photos.
Yeah.
And so, that's how I felt going into it. And then I remember the day of the shoot, we got to the place. I let him go first, and he was shooting. He did his whole thing. And I really only had like 20 minutes left, like maybe 15, 20 minutes because the sun was going down.
Right.
And so when I say I've never in my life have I worked underneath pressure. I worked under that pressure. And I just, I just was like posing, shoot, trying to get as much content as I wanted to get. And then I think as well, what also helped with that project was like my friend Michaela. Shout out to Michaela. She is a filmmaker. And so we got a lot of inspiration from each other. And so she came and she shot the project while I was shooting it.
I see.
She took the video that's associated with the project. And a couple of the videos that I have with my projects were shot by her. Oh, wow. And I just think that when we got to the shoot, there was a sense of like togetherness that us four Black women being in the middle of nowhere, like I just felt a sense of like connectiveness between us. And I think that's what inspired the overall theme of it just being that, again, that sisterhood, kind of reassuring that aspect of it.
Okay.
And dreams. I felt, and I like calling it dreams because I felt like the location was very like dreamy.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
Like you like looking at it like, oh my goodness, where's that?
Yeah.
You know,
I
so
definitely was
Dubai.
like, where
Where was that, by the way?
it was the dunes, like between here and California. There's
some dunes.
Yeah.
You
I
see,
had no idea.
We
When you
drove.
drive-
I think we drove with
You
you.
gotta be sleeping there.
Yeah.
Be knocked out.
So there's dunes that out there that we just kind of went and found a spot. And so I picked the name because again, that concept of dreamy, and that's why color was really important for me in that photo, and like the sky and like having the purples and the pinks and it just looking as like a dream, unrealistic.
A dreamland.
Right.
Exactly,
Yes.
a dreamline essentially. And then I knew I really wanted the women to look similar because I didn't want you to identify with a model.
Yeah.
Per se, I didn't want you to say, oh, this is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be, and that's why like, in some of the photos and a lot of them, I had them wear their hats low to cover up
Yes,
their
I
eyes.
noticed
So
that.
then that way you didn't have to connect with that person, but you kind of connected with the overall thought of like Black women and sisterhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow.
And so
Yeah,
that
see,
was
deep. I'm telling you, man.
It's way deeper.
She
than
did the
that.
science, man. She really did the
deeper.
science.
Wow.
It's deeper than what you see. And so, and I just wanted them to, a lot of the poses of them touching. And I don't know, there's just, I don't know, that level of intimacy that you have with your girls. Like, I don't know, just
I
like.
mean, I don't know that. You looking
You have
at me
intimacy with your boy?
I'm still not
She's not a girl.
Do you have intimacy with your boy?
Hey, let's continue the podcast.
You know, but
It's
you know,
not like that.
but like again, going with that theme of like sisterhood, like
Yeah.
togetherness. Like I know for me, my relationship with my girls is everything, and there's a level of strength that I pull from them. So when I say intimacy, like being able to like be so connected to somebody that you can rely on them.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of the photos, they're balancing each other out. They're relying on each other in that space.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was intentional with a lot of that. And again, covering the eyes because I don't want you to identify with a person. I want you to kind of envision yourself in that space and think of who makes you feel like that. Who makes you feel? Who do you feel connected to? Who do you feel you can lean on? You know, who do you feel like has your hand? Like a lot of those photos, some of them they're holding hands. Which one of your girls is holding your hands, or which one of your friends do you know you can call and can protect you in that sense?
I definitely see that in a gallery.
Yes,
Definitely.
that
most definitely.
Gosh, and that's one of my like goals and dreams. I would love to have, even like out here in Phoenix, I would love to do my own show at one point.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. We're gonna do it one day. But that was the kind of plan around everything. And I think again, coming in with a loose structure and then really allowing the space to inspire you. And on that day, just me being with my friend Michaela and then having the two models there, it just felt like we were just all in sync. 4 Black women in sync. Like the two of the guys that were there, they were doing their own thing, but it was 4 Black women in sync.
Right.
And we created magic that day. So yeah.
Awesome.
Wait, I have
It's
a
really-
question real quick.
What's up?
Like for your models, are they like just usually your friends, or do you like?
They're
find
usually
people?
friends. Yeah, I don't. So that day he had found the models. One of the girls I didn't know, I now know well. And the other girl I had shot previously, I think. But a lot of my models, the people that I shoot, are just friends. And so, if you look at a lot of my recent work, if I posted anything, I've not shot in a while, but like a lot of my work, I'll just be like, I'll call a friend and say, "Do you want to go do a shoot?" And then we'll just go and do a shoot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it's kind of nice to do that because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if I'm sharing my gift with everybody else, I also want to share it with my friends. And that's what sometimes people be like, "Oh, you like all these gorgeous models." I'm like, "Oh, they're just my friends." "Oh, you have such beautiful friends." And when you look at them on the street, they might not feel like on a day to day like that, but when we do
That's
a
true.
shoot, I'm gonna make you
look
good.
good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that why I love photography so much is like I can't create from what doesn't already exist. So like I felt drastic. But I can't create from what doesn't already exist, right? So you coming as you are already like you are who you are, right? I can't shape your face any kind of way. I can't make you look like anybody else. I'm gonna make you look like you, and the way that I see you. And so I think that's what I love from with the photography, because sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you made me look good. You made me da da da." I mean, yeah, I got the angles and I color the picture nicely. But at the end of the day, that was you.
Yes,
You know, that was who. That's you came. You know, you gave me a nice foundation. I can't build what I have without this foundation that you gave me. And so I think that's what I really love about photography, is being able to do that for other people. So it's important for me to do that for my friends too. And so whenever my friends have, like, you know, when Phyllis graduated from school, I just I was like, you know, she asked me for grad photos. I said, of course. Like, I'm going to do that for you guys. The only thing I'm not shooting weddings because I expect to be in them. But but I'll take engagement photos. I'll take, big moments for you guys. Don't call me to be your wedding photographer, because that answer is a no. I'll be offended.
You going to be a guest at the wedding.
At least bare minimum, I guess. So.
Yeah. I mean, we're like at an hour. Does anyone else have any like last questions? I have one question, but I don't
got no work questions for you.
No. Okay, go ahead. Whatever the question is.
You have a question?
I'm just vibing.
Come on.
They just come off my head.
My question, this is 20-somethings podcast.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give 20-somethings pursuing their passions?
Yes, that's a great question.
Wow.
Man.
You just
I want you to listen back to that.
Don't ever tell me to prepare. Just come off rip, bro.
I want you to listen back to that to hear the confidence you had in asking that question and the way it just rolled off your tongue.
She can't help it.
It was very like, this is what I do.
This is what I do.
You know?
It's what I do. Hey.
It's what I do. So the advice that I have, I think the biggest piece of advice would be patient with yourself. I think that one thing that I know I struggled with is I was always caught up in, I will enjoy life when I get to this stage, when I have X, Y, and Z. And I think a part of a lot of the stress and kind of sadness that I felt was I was so caught up in creating this life that I wasn't really living the life that I was actually in. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give 20-somethings is just live in the moment that you're in now. Obviously, yes, have like a plan, like, okay, what do you want to do, whatever, but don't be caught up in that. Don't be so wrapped up in that. Because I know for myself, especially when I was going to school, got my first big girl job, I was so caught up in like, I need to be making X, Y, Z amount of money. I need to be doing I need to be on this specific level that I'm not on. And I just found myself so caught up in that world and drained all the time, stressed all the time. I wasn't the person you can call because I didn't have the energy to go out. That wasn't a priority in my head. And I feel like when I started to enjoy this life more, I really started to live the life that I was given. So that's the biggest piece of advice I can give. Be patient with yourself. Things will work out when they're meant to work out. Because where I'm at right now, if you asked me 2, 3, 4, even pandemic time, if you asked me, I would not have even known that I would have been in this position because my life looked so differently at that time. And I was so stressed about I think that's why I say the pandemic was a blessing, because it forced me to slow down and like not be so caught up in my timelines and this and that and structuring my life to be, I can't. And because I just was in that mindset of I won't enjoy life until I'm at this specific level.
Wow.
Right.
And when you're so focused on a goal, you miss everything.
That's
You
very
become
true.
that tunnel vision. You miss everything else around
That's
you.
very true. Yeah.
And you don't know. And I feel like you don't, I think there's beauty in just like living, because you don't know what direction you're going in, release yourself open to different things. And you have to be mindful. You have to be mindful, because you also don't want to go the wrong direction. But just being, I don't know, just allowing, just knowing that God's going to do what he's going to do. Just live and exist. And with time, everything will fall into place. So Beautiful. I think that's my piece of advice, because I know I struggled with that heavy. And then you start to look at yourself and you think, your self-worth is attached to the things that you've accomplished and the things that you have. And then that was a huge thing for me. That's why I went to grad school. I went to grad school for no other reason outside of like, I need to be able to show that I accomplished something. And when I graduated from grad school, I went through a mini depression, because I felt like, what's next? Like, what next do I have to accomplish? I felt like I was just like, school was easy because it was just like check mark. Exactly. As soon as I finished undergrad, cool. I'm gonna get my master's. I'm not gonna do one. I'm gonna do two. I did.
You better than me. Better than me, girl.
I did my MPH and my MBA. Like, and I was sitting here. Once I graduated with that, everybody was like, "Oh, she got 2 masters." And I was like, "Okay, cool. What's next?" And then I was humbled by the real world when I looked for my job, and they offered me, listen, offered me like really, really low pay, and I said, but I have 2 masters. What do you mean? And they said,
and what about it?
And what about it? And so that's the biggest piece of advice I have, is just don't let your accomplishments define you, and have patience with yourself, and allow yourself to just live and enjoy life. Because this life is not promised to us, and I've seen close friends of mine pass, and I think that's another thing, like seeing that, how quickly things can just go. You just have to be able to just enjoy this life for yourself, and everything else will fall when it's meant to fall. So.
Right. I think that's a great ending.
I
think we did some potting today. I think we did some potting today. All right, guys. Idara, thank you once again. We appreciate you. Thank
drop
you
your
for
handle real quick.
Yeah, drop all your handles. We wanna.
Wait a minute.
Drop those handles,
man. You guys can check out my my website at idaraekpo.com, and then you can also check out my Instagram at OhYeahIt'sIdy. So OhYeahIt'sIdy. Just spell it out for you, but OhYeahIt'sIdy. Same thing on like Twitter and other platforms as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you again. Thank you for having us in your home.
Of course.
Thank you for sharing your space. We appreciate it. And yeah, man, we want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. 20-something.
This podcast.
Love you.
Wow, I had so much fun.
I know this was
man. It's potting. We potted,
more
bro.
girls.
Yeah.
Boys.
More girls. More women. More women.
We love the girls. Chill. I
can learn. That's what's our
Anyway.
Okay. Bye.
Anyway.